three sommeliers looking to make choosing the right wine easier for the average person have created a company called Wine-oji. It simplifies flavours into an emoji-like language so anyone picking up a bottle knows exactly what they're in for. We're joined now by Wine-oji co-founder and sommelier at the excellent Noble Rot wine bar, Jessica Wood. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Jesse. How are you? Good afternoon.
Yeah,
Thanks
good
for
afternoon.
having me on the show today.
Nice to have you on the show. How did you get interested in wine and how did you end up working in wine?
Well, I have quite a long career in hospitality, starting at quite a young age, over 20 years ago. Obviously, from my accent, you can probably hear I'm from the UK. My mum's a chef, and so hospitality and food has sort of always been in my life and my lifestyle growing up. And fast forward a couple of decades, and through Australia and other sort of countries I've worked in, always in hospitality around those places, and finally arrived in New Zealand in 2015, where I've been in Wellington ever since, and essentially started working in quite a well-established seafood restaurant on the waterfront. And that's really where sort of my engagement with wine increased. I was exposed to lots of different winemakers and different trade producers who were showing me some excellent examples of wine from around New Zealand. And eventually I realized that actually my passion for wine was growing and I needed to pursue a professional career in wine in order to really develop my hospitality career. So I approached Noble Rot for a job and said that I basically wanted to work for them and increase my wine knowledge. And here we are 3 years later in quite an amazing position of launching and growing a new global company. So it's quite exciting.
Good for you. And how hard is it, or what does the learning process look like when you're becoming a sommelier?
Yeah, that was one thing I was concerned about, because you can't just say one day that you're a sommelier all of a sudden. So I looked into sort of the qualifications I would need, the experience and the knowledge that I might actually need to work on the floor in that sort of capacity, and quickly enrolled in the Court of Master Sommeliers Certified Sommelier Certificate, as well as the Wine and Spirits Educational Trust, the WSET. So both of these were founded in London, but have made global sort of recognition for training wine professionals and sommeliers around the world. So I passed the sommelier certificate and enrolled in the WSET Level 4 diploma, which is quite a grueling sort of 2-year course, learning all about the wines of the world. That was under the mentorship of my co-founders and partners, Josh and Maciek, who are currently holding the fort at Noble Rot while I speak to you. And then, it's also about the experience of being on the floor, working as much as possible in wine, and essentially devoting your life to wine is what it boils down to. Is lots of research and reading around actually serving a glass. So
much of it must be about paying more attention to what you're drinking.
Absolutely. I would say nobody is born with an innate ability to taste wine. You have to study how to taste as well as actually taste a variety of wines from around the world. Training your palate is one of the most important skills of becoming a sommelier.
What sort of things do you learn, just to give people an idea?
Just essentially you're looking at aromas and flavors that you can pick out of the wine, and how to recognize those in classic wine styles from around the world. And that's a really important sort of starting process for any young sommelier. And then being able to look back through research, theory, and establish why a certain wine tastes the way that it does. And so classic styles from around the world gives you that real benchmark that you can then progress from and look at different styles like orange wines and rosés, etc.
Okay, so where has this business Wine-oji come from?
Wine-oji essentially was established during the first lockdown, 2020, when unfortunately Noble Rot, of course, had to close like many other hospitality businesses as we went into level 4. But it actually gave us the time that we needed to develop our online wine and supply consultancy, which is the Noble Wines side of our business, where we were able to, luckily, still serve our thirsty Wellingtonian wine lovers through online retail sales of wine. And really it was through that time where we realized that we needed a quick and instant way of describing to people what wine was in their bottle. how could we portray our sommelier sort of service in the restaurant through not actually being able to see our customers anymore, but still give them an outstanding experience of the wines. So we started to develop, essentially boiling it back down to those key aromas and flavors, the real attributes that you can see in wine, key structural components like acidity, sweetness, oak, and we started writing those down and created a library which grew quite quickly to 190 Wine-oji icons. And we realized that we were probably onto something, and that's when we started to engage a design studio and actually create this business and launch it. So we're talking over 2 years of quite hard work, very hard work around running Noble Rot, and essentially we launched officially at the beginning of December 2021. So it's an incredible journey so far.
And so the basic idea is that instead of describing a wine in words, you're describing it in pictures.
That's right. I mean, visual language transcends all language verbally, which means that it can be used around the world. So anyone who understands what a green apple is in New Zealand would also be the same in Japan or in the Netherlands. A green apple is a green apple. So we are using the concept of a visual language in order to describe wines, which means that it's a global concept.
And do you come up, or have you, it sounds like you've come up with your own emojis, not just using the ones that are available?
That's correct. We've designed all of our Wine-ojis, so we own the IP for all of those, and it was a very important part of the process of designing them, actually to make them quite specific to what we wanted to describe. So creme brulee, for example, or nougat had to really show you the flavors of the nougat within that specific visual image, so that it was very easily recognizable what we were trying to describe using visual imagery.
And what problem is this solving, Jessica?
We are solving the problem for the general consumer, the average consumer who enjoys wine or who maybe enjoys another beverage, and we are trying to bring them onto the wine platform. The problems that are being solved are helping the wine industry to be able to communicate better their wine, what's in the bottle of wine, to their consumers. It also helps consumers when they're at a retail store or a bottle shop, or even at the cellar door, when they're looking at different styles of wine, which wines they're going to enjoy. It tells you what's in the bottle. There's no fluffy language. There's no difficult words. There's no nothing that really is intimidating for the consumer anymore. We're just trying to help you enjoy more wine for longer.
And who are you hoping will adopt these Wine-ojis?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're hoping everybody, anyone who's a consumer will really enjoy to adopt Wine-ojis. We believe that it's a new language for wine, and we would love for it to become synonymous with the enjoyment of wine globally. But also we see ourselves sitting in as part of the chain of wine producers from the production side to the enjoyment and consumption side with the end consumer. So we work alongside that full chain through all the distribution channels and at retail point of sale, and we feel that this enables the extra education of all of the people within that chain, whether you work in a bottle store and you need to upskill yourself in understanding certain styles of wine, whether you're a consumer and you want to buy a special bottle for somebody's birthday, or how would you choose that bottle moving forward, you would use a visual language of wine. But the opportunity is endless globally. It's available digitally, it's available physically, and it is an ever-growing language.
Yeah. How will you make your money off it, Jessica?
That's always a good question, and one that we, of course, throughout the whole process have thought about very carefully. The main part of the income for us comes from profiling different wines directly from wine producers. So wineries are able to send us their wine. Myself with my business partners, Josh and Maciek, we sit down together as a tasting panel, and we taste all of the wines simultaneously but independently, and then essentially form quite a colourful and wonderful tasting panel where we discuss the structural components of that wine as well as the aromas and flavours. and then we'll produce the profile, and we provide a digital IP package which we translate straight back to the wine producer. And from there, essentially, we provide ongoing support for the winery in order to engage in any sort of media, online, digital platforms, but also any physical point of sale products that they might need in order to essentially help them communicate better about their wine.
Okay, so you sell them to the industry. Meanwhile, you raise the profile with people who drink wine so that people recognize and know how to read these symbols when they see them. And then hopefully it just grows and grows, huh?
That's exactly right. And especially at the moment, we have several different products as well. At the moment, down in New World in Island Bay, we have an amazing trial happening where we've actually been able to install Wine-oji shelf talkers onto the shelves with a range of wines, which is really helping us to generate data of how that's actually helping, how Wine-oji is helping people to consume and purchase wine. The other thing that we have is a different sort of a whole product stream within Wine-oji, which is classic wine styles, which I alluded to earlier, classic wine styles of New Zealand and the world. And these are little deck of cards, sort of like a tarot cards almost, slightly smaller, so handheld. And they will explain to you exactly the aromas and flavors in different styles of wine from around the world. So we see this as an educational tool. People can start to really learn and understand the language and become familiar with it.
Thanks, Jessica. Good luck. For people who want to learn more, I guess we'll send them to your website, the Wine-oji website, Wine-oji. I hope it goes well for you.
Thank you. It's wine-oji.com. Check it out. And thanks for having me on the show today.